So I am now back on the road. I had a wonderful few weeks up in the Northeast, spending time with family, and now it's time to start slowly making my way down the East Coast back to Florida. And in this video, I kind of want to just show what that's like, living in a van on the East Coast, or in this case, a homemade truck camper. I know the East Coast kind of gets a bad rap. It's perceived as being quite a bit more difficult to live in a camper or a van on the East Coast, and I think there's quite a few pretty good reasons for that. I'm going to be slowly making my way down the coast. I'm not really in a rush to get back to Florida. I have about a week or so I'm going to take my time, try to see a few cool sights along the way, and enjoy the last of this cool weather before I get back to the heat in Florida.
Welcome to Maryland. Welcome to West Virginia. Welcome to Virginia.
So today has ended up being a bit of a driving day. I am planning to do some boondocking, some free camping tonight in the National Forest. My original goal was to kind of try to do it in like Pennsylvania so that I didn't have to drive as much today. I started the day in upstate New York. But as is the case with East Coast boondocking and free camping, sometimes it's just kind of hard to find a good spot. And a lot of the free camping areas that I found online have actually become paid camping areas over the past couple of years. They've been converted to paid campsites, or you have to apply, by calling in for a permit multiple days in advance, and it's this whole thing. So I kind of decided to skip that and just drive a couple extra hours to Virginia. I'm now in northwestern Virginia in the George Washington National Forest, and I have my sights set on a campground over here. It's a pretty sweet little campground. I'm glad I drove the extra couple of hours and just got out of the Northeast and came down here. And at the moment, there's 10 campsites at this little campground, and there's no one else out here. I have the whole place to myself. I assume it'll get busier this weekend. It's a Thursday night right now. In terms of the camping on the East Coast and boondocking, free camping out here, it can definitely be a little bit of a guessing game, and in my experience, it gets progressively harder the more towards the Northeast that you get. It's a little bit easier in Virginia, Western North Carolina, because there's more space, but as you get up towards Pennsylvania and then up towards New England and even upstate New York as well, like it can be pretty challenging, like I was talking about earlier, with the permits and with, having to pay fees and all that. It's just not really a lot of public land in this part of the country. It's very densely populated. There's a lot of private land. It just doesn't really compare to the BLM land that's available on, in the western half of the country, or just all the national forests and public land and all the space that is out there. It definitely makes you appreciate finding a beautiful spot like this. Of course, there's also the other major issue, which is all these big, beautiful trees up above me. This spot is an amazing escape, but similar to most other free camping areas like this that I've found on the East Coast, there's absolutely no cell coverage here. Because of all these trees, you have no connectivity, and then also that blocks your solar, so your solar panels take in no power as well. So if you're trying to live on the road and boondock and actually work a remote job like I am, it's pretty hard to take advantage of the 14-day limit out here if you can't be connected and can't actually work your job. It's currently a cool 88.6 degrees in here, 31 degrees Celsius. It's really not that bad, actually. It tends to get a little bit hotter when I'm in Florida, so this is just a good warm-up for that. So I'm going to go ahead and just make these little vegetable dumplings, Korean barbecue. It only takes about 5 minutes in the air fryer. Just put that outside for a minute, let it cool off. This truck does tend to burn some oil every few thousand miles or so. It kind of just disappears. Not really sure where it's going. There's no leaks or anything. I think it's a pretty common issue with these older Chevys, and kind of just the joy of having a 24-year-old pickup truck. What are you doing? You doing deer stuff? Accidentally let our Harvest Host membership automatically renew, and this golf course that I just played is a Harvest Host. That's how I found it. I was originally going to stay here, but I don't know, I feel pretty energized after being out there on the golf course, and I kind of want to try to knock out a few more hours and get a little closer to Florida. So my original plan was to stay here, but I think I'm going to hit the road. There is no denying this is an absolutely gorgeous part of the country. I love coming through here whenever I get the chance. Western Virginia, the Blue Ridge Parkway. That golf course was beautiful too. That was something else. I mean, some of those views were incredible. All those elevation changes, obviously not something that I'm used to, playing golf in flat Florida all the time. So that was a really nice change of pace. Really, really enjoyed that. You know, similar to most Harvest Host golf courses, at least in my personal experience, that course was in pretty rough condition. The greens were pretty beat up. It really wasn't great, but you can tell that they're definitely putting some money into it. They're spending some time trying to bring it back to its former glory, and you know, I think it makes sense that Harvest Host courses are usually the ones that are like that. They're trying to attract people to stop there who are passing through. So they're trying to stay in business, they're trying to stay afloat, and I'm happy to support a place like that, even though I'm not actually gonna spend the night there like I had originally planned. This spot will be a little bit louder than the golf course parking lot in the middle of nowhere. I was able to drive a couple extra hours though and get a little closer to Florida. I still have about 14 hours left, and I'm realizing I'm kind of running out of time now. I need to be back in the next 3 days for work. We actually have a couple of shoots planned early next week, and I'm looking forward to, you know, getting back to working in person. I've been able to work remote, which has been great, but it'll be nice to get back to the Sunshine State. I am an old woman, named after my mother. An old man is another child that's grown old. And if dreams were thunder, if lightning was desire, and this old house would have burned down a long time ago. So make me an angel that flies from Montgomery, make me a poster of an old rodeo, and just give me one thing that I can hold on to. To believe in this living is such a hard way to go. When I was a young girl, I had me a cowboy. He wasn't much to look at, just a free rambling man. And that was a long time, no matter how hard I tried. The years, they just flow by like a broken down dam. Well, make me an angel that flies from Montgomery, and make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me one thing that I can hold on to believe in this living, such a hard way to go. To believe in this living, such a hard way to go. I've been driving for most of the day today. Like I said before, it's going to be a long couple of days heading back to Florida. I'm now in South Carolina. I think this video was a pretty good example, though, of what it's like to live in a camper or in a van on the East Coast. At least in my personal experience, it's a little bit harder to find those boondocking spots where you can go and stay at for, 2 weeks at a time and then move to the next one and stay there for 2 weeks at a time. It's possible, you can definitely find those areas, but for the limitations that I mentioned earlier, it's a little bit harder to make that work. And there's also just less public land, and there's more people. It's just more densely populated, so I find myself at rest areas very frequently, like I did a couple of times in this video, and then using like truck stops and the occasional Walmart sometimes, and then stealth camping occasionally just on the streets, and then also using friends and family's driveways as well. That was definitely a big part of my trip to New England. I did that quite a bit. Thank you guys so much for watching and for following along on this journey. I'll talk to you all again soon.